Welcome to Insights to Strength. I'm your host, J Love, and this podcast was curated to remind you that you are not your circumstance. Join me as I encourage you through the Word of God, help you to identify your strengths, and vocally walk alongside you in purpose. It's a blessed day, dear seekers. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another installment of Tuesday Thoughts. I am your host, J Love, and you are now tuned into Insights to Strength podcast, where we literally, or rather vocally, walk alongside those in purpose, reminding them that they are not their circumstance. Thank you for joining us on this Married Tuesday. I sit before you at the desk of the playground because I'm not home. I'm on my lunch break, and I am reminded to share some writings that I've been working on for a couple of weeks. But how it started was a challenge from a friend. It's been about 2 weeks or so ago. And she challenged her podcast group, Save Girl Podcast, right, where I too help or assist in co-hosting there, to focus on being a peacemaker and not a peacekeeper, right? And so I found myself searching for what this looks like. That week, what I wanted to do was to first understand the difference between the two. And so these were my thoughts. And then, of course, y'all know what I do in good fashion is I'm going to go look at the words, right? But my first thought was to understand that rather peacemakers or peacekeeper, this is seemingly to me was a role that is already established, right? It encouraged one to not come in being a disturbance. But when I defined it, I learned that peacekeepers are people who maintain or restore peace and amity, and they are mediators, right? These are known to be our soldiers, our military forces, etc. They are deployed to maintain or to restore peace, or they prevent or stop fighting between countries or groups. I'm going to hold this thought here, but I find it the irony of what we are actually experiencing culturally in today's time. But I'm going to hold my peace on it until I have further knowledge, right? But that was the definition for a peacekeeper, both my definition and what was provided by Webster Dictionary or Google Dictionary. Now, the second one was a peacemaker, right? What my definition of what a peacemaker is, it is one who requires humility. But the definition is that a peacemaker brings about peace, especially by reconciling adversaries. They are those who intercede. They settle arguments or they stop fights. I was watching one of T.D. Jake's sermons a few weeks back, and he was talking about what it means to be a servant. And there was something that he said in this sermon that really just kind of triggered these thoughts or prompted these thoughts. Now, I don't want to use the word trigger, but they prompted these thoughts. And it was is that what I've come to understand is that everyone should be a servant. But what we know is that not everyone knows how to serve. Right? He was talking about the aspects of leadership. And if you are a leader who does not believe in serving the people, then sir or ma'am, you should not be in any form of leadership, because a leader is still a servant, right? Don't believe me? Ask the Lord. Ask the Savior himself. Right? He foot washed, he washed his disciples' feet. He, in his humanity, served his Father, the Lord. He served God, right, with his life, right? He was a servant unto death, right? And so, like I said, everyone should be a servant, but not all know how to serve. And he was mentioning, Bishop Jakes was mentioning that the importance of a leader, about, being a servant this week. the thing for me, or during the time of these writings, the thing for me in my own personal life I had noticed was the word humility. Right, the Lord was showing with me and sharing with me humility, and how it's been prevalent for me, more so as a reminder to keep being humble, right, rather than to be humbled. He wants me to continue to be this person. And may I say that it takes great strength to be humbled when you want to pull out your own blowhorn, right? And you want to broadcast your own greatness. However, the Lord has a way of just being a great vindicator of his people, right? Humility is defined as a modest or a low view of one's own importance. It's humbleness. And I remember there's a couple of scriptures. If you ever want to better understand how you can better become a good steward of faith through this as a gift, read Colossians 3, chapter 3, verses 12 through 14, or you can even tap into Philippians 2, verses 3 through 8. But I was looking at these things. I'm like, humility. I don't know necessarily why. I know why I had to write on it, right? Because that's for something that I'm working on. But I'm like, why is it that I need to be reminded of these things right now? Right? That's what I wanted to ask myself. And then I began noticing what it was that I was coming up against throughout that week when it comes to my workplace. Again, I could very well toot my own horn and talk about all of the accolades that I have accomplished in life. However, that's not even the spirit of me, for one. And for two, if I am to do that, and the Lord has told me not to, that is the reward in and of itself. I will, when time comes, boast in the Lord for all. For all that he actually has done. Well, again, when the time comes, because just the other day, and now I'm bringing you up to recent weeks, just the other day, yesterday, in fact, I was a little down on myself, if I'm being honest, right? I was a little down on myself, and I ended up clicking on the Insights to Strength hashtag, and I began scrolling. And as I scrolled, right, I realized, like, fam, you've been putting in a whole lot of work. This has been years of work. And mind you, it came at a time where I feel like I have not been doing anything. I have not been accomplishing anything. I'm wondering and I'm questioning myself, like, am I making stride in the podcast? Like, what am I, questioning myself, asking me, what am I doing this for? Okay, you don't have the necessary, you're not really engaging, but all of the things that has come out of me doing the podcast shows me that, hey, you actually have been having great success. The numbers don't always add up because, baby, those numbers be fickle. I won't even hold you. The numbers are absolutely fickle. But what I do know is people are watching. Those that matter and those whose lives this podcast is to touch, they have been listening. They have been growing. They have been grateful because I get those text messages and I get those inboxes. What I do this for, who I do this for, is for the Lord. He told me to do it. And as long as he remains my audience of one, I'm good with that. Right? Because what I do know is that everything that I do now won't always be seen in the time that I've done it. Meaning it won't be the accolades or the acknowledgments. They won't come same day. In fact, they may come, very much so, will come years from now, as it did when I wrote my book, right? People purchased the book and not everybody read it right away. But when they sat down and they read, and they did read, they began to post the nuggets from my life. Oh, God. And I'm like, I look at these things and I said that? My God. Friends call me or people will call me and say, let me tell you what you said. I'm like, what'd I say? Because truly I don't remember. Again, I've taken on such a position of humility that I don't even recognize it. I don't even recognize sometimes what the Lord has done through me, because it wasn't for me. And that just reminds me that I've done it, and that what I have accomplished and the things that I did do are truly for His glory, and I celebrate that. So I'm going to encourage you, seekers, to embrace the moment. Embrace humility as a strength. Okay? You are winning even when it looks like you are failing. Every time I turn this microphone on and I speak life into you, I'm winning, because I am accomplishing what the Lord has set out for me to do. This will reach millions, right? This will change lives, and the Lord will get the glory for the words that He gave me to speak. I can have 1,000,001 plans, but if those plans are not offered up to the Lord as a sacrifice so that He can erase, add to, and or delete or get rid of it all, all of it together, I do it in vain. I don't want, and that's not something I want to do. That's not the position I want to hold. So don't miss the opportunity to sit in humility. Choosing to sit in humility versus being forced into being humbled is a very different position. You don't want that. You don't want that. I don't want that. Right? So choose humility in love and watch the Lord grow your peace and remind you that He has you in the palm of His hand, that you are the apple of His eye, that you are loved, you are cherished, you are successful every time you choose obedience over self-righteousness. As always, seeker, thank you for taking in this moment with me of Tuesday's Thoughts. Join us on this coming Thursday, where I will release our next episode talking about don't miss the moment. Also, we have this upcoming Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, our second webinar, where we are discussing boundaries and what that looks like. So if you are someone who struggles with boundaries, absolutely tap in with us. All right, you can find Insights to Strength on Facebook and on Instagram platforms. DM me and say, hey, I need the link. Send me a voice message, right? You can voice message us here on the podcast to let me know, what, this blessed me today. This encouraged me. This gave me strength. Share it with a friend and tell that friend to share it with their friends. But if you do nothing else at all, always keep praying, keep pressing, and stand tall. I'm your host, Shay Love, and you've listened to Insights to Strength podcast. Hey, seekers. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. You could even send a voicemail by clicking the link in our show notes. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook at Insights to Strength. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.